What's up, everybody? So today we're going to be reviewing the Nike Hyper KO 3. So this is my first pair of Nike Hyper KOs. I did not get the first generation or the second generation. Now the first generation, based off me and like my way of how I like shoes and colorways, the first ones are the best. The problem is that to get a pair of the first ones in the different colorways is pretty much impossible. They're either always sold out, or you can't really find them on eBay, or it's kind of hard to find them. But what I do have experiences is with the Nike Makomis. These are the second generations. I'm not quite sure what these are called, but I know these are like the SE, something like that. So I have this pair, and then I have this pair, which is pretty much a baby blue and like pink on the side. And these are like neon pinkish orangish, just on the bottoms. And then these are the gold with white. Now, based off all the boxing shoes that I've had in the past, Makomis, in my opinion, have the best grip. Makomis and the Asics. Asics and Makomis are the best. Right now, we're just going to talk about the Makomis and the Hyper KOs. So, if you watched the previous clip of me opening them, it has been about 2 months since I've been using them, 2 to 3 months probably. There are things that I do like, and then there are things that I don't like, okay? The things I like is grip, insane grip. I love that. Insane grip in which they could be used in the ring, out the ring, on cement, on hardwood floor, on mesh type of like padding on the floor. These are great. The only thing is that once you start getting dirt within the spirals, or these patterns, to get it completely clean, you're probably gonna have to get like maybe a toothpick and dig through them, scrub them pretty well. But aside from that, great grip. I would rate the grip based off of all the shoes that I've worn. I'd rate these anywhere from an 8.5 to a 9.5. Now, I won't give it a 10 because there's always some improvements that could be made. But based off grip, 8.5 to a 9.5. Now, another thing is sizing. So I'm typically a 8.5 and 9 in shoes, and some shoes maybe even up to a 9.5. Like, shoes are very weird, and not that the shoes are weird, but manufacturers, or the way they ship them out, they'll ship them out saying that a specific pair of shoes is 42 centimeters, which is what I go based off of, and they don't come in at that specific length. But these so far, I could have gone maybe half a size bigger, but so far, in my opinion, I prefer shoes, especially boxing shoes, to have a tight grip, like a glove, a snug glove. Even if it's a little bit tighter than what people usually want them, I prefer them tight. I just love, not that I love, but I prefer them tight than to have something loose, to have a little gap within my shoes. So yeah, you could either go with your exact size if you're fine with it being a little bit, not too tight, but just a little bit, or you could go like half a size bigger. Now, aside from like length, now we're going to talk about width. Width, it is a little bit smaller. Like, compared to these, I believe the width on these is a little bit like more snug, not too much. I wish they were a little bit, bigger. At this point, I would expect if there was going to be like any improvement, because sometimes you just gotta break in a shoe, and once you break in a shoe, you pretty much stretch out the shoe to where it fits better. And when you put it in, you're kind of like molded, like pretty seamlessly. But so far, I still haven't like broken that part yet. In my opinion, I think if I use them more, I will be able to break them in a little bit more. But so far, I haven't. So when it comes to length and width, the width is gonna be a little bit tight. The length just a little bit tight. So you could probably go like half a size bigger. And I'm sure going half a size bigger will add a little bit more width as well. I may be wrong, but that's my opinion. Now weight. I didn't weigh them out, but you know, in the hand they do feel kind of, you know, I'm used to wearing Asics wrestling shoes, and they're a little bit heavier, but it's not to the point where it's like, oh my god, you know, I'm carrying a full like brick on my legs, right? They're not too heavy, and once you have them on, you know, you can't really like tell the difference. But based on off of my opinion, I do believe there is an improvement from the Makomis, the second generation, to the Hyper KO's third generation. Now, of course, they are not the same shoe, right? But what I can say is there is an improvement, like on certain aspects that probably transition to like how the Hyper KOs are, because now the Makomis 3s, you know, they're a little bit different. They kind of look similar to the Hyper KOs too, you know. So it's like most of the time they're just gonna be copying off of, you know, what's from the Makomis to the Hyper KOs and whatnot. Aside from length, width, and grip, the back support right here on the Achilles is just very tight, very tight. Now that's something that even the wrestling shoes have. I believe every boxing shoe has that. And me, I like wearing very thin ankle socks. So maybe me wearing longer sleeve socks will help, you know, my Achilles not, you know, being in pain as much. But after a round or two, once you get going, you really don't feel the pain. But yeah, Achilles is kind of tight, but that's pretty much normal on most boxing and wrestling shoes. Another thing that I really liked about this design is right here at the back. Now the cool thing is I'm guessing, I'm not 100% sure, but if you want to like, let's say like, because the laces are very long on the Hyper KO 3s and Makomis as well, but now you could pretty much like, as you're tying it, you don't want loose laces, you could pretty much like tie it in the back, which is pretty dope. Aside from that, I believe black goes with anything. Now we're gonna talk about the colorway. Black goes with everything. And pink with black, I may be a little zesty, you know, you guys could hate or whatever, but I like the pink. If there was a purple version, I'll get purple. Purple is my favorite color, but pink, it's not that bad. It's not like a bright, like neon pink. It's like a very light pink, and it goes well with a black pair of shoes. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that I want to cover. Another thing too, the strap. I really don't use a strap. You know, it's like your foot's like very snug, but I guess like if your feet aren't like, you know, too wide, you know, this helps, I guess. But aside from that, I don't really like mess with straps. Once I have it set, like I just keep it like that, like for the remainder of like me using it like over and over again. It's like, you know, people sometimes when they tie their shoes, you know, they don't want to retie their shoes, so they just like pop them in and pop them out. The same thing with me with the strap. Yeah, this is pretty much my second or third month of using them. Now everything that we covered grip, we covered length, width, the Achilles, how you could like pretty much put the laces in here to pretty much like save space of like the laces not hanging around because they're pretty lengthy, and then the strap. So overall, me using these shoes for the past 2 to 3 months, I would rate them 8.75 out of 10. It's a pretty good pair of shoes. That's pretty much my review. If you guys enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and I'll be doing more boxing shoes. Maybe more Hyper KOs, different colorways. So yeah, thank you.